Jesus Christ is the life, he said. Trust him. Yes, his life. He lived, he died as a payment for our sin. He rose from the dead to prove he's God. Jesus Christ is the life. Paul said, in him we live and move and have our being. Peter said of Jesus Christ, let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful Creator while doing good. John, the last living apostle, said that his eyes, Jesus Christ, that his eyes were like a flame of fire. Out of his mouth came a sharp, two-edged sword. That he had a name written on his thigh, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That he wore a robe that was dipped in blood. John said, when I saw Jesus Christ, I fell at his feet as though dead. Now I want you to hear this. Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. You can trust him. You can trust him with your life. You can trust him with your marriage. You can trust him with your finances. You can trust him. It was about a year ago right now that my wife Kathy had that ATV accident. I was right behind her in horror when it reared up and flipped over, and I thought it was going to land on top of her, everything in slow motion, and her ribs were broken, and her arm was broken, her elbow was broken, her lung was punctured, and what a different day today would be. Something eternal had happened to my wife, but I would have had to trust God, and we can trust him. I was thinking today about a conversation I had with my mother about 30 years ago. I had just finished college, and I was trying to figure out where to go and serve the Lord, and I was so burdened about it. I was sitting alone with my mother, and she was rocking in her rocking chair. And I said, Mom, I'm so burdened about this, and what am I going to do? And I hadn't learned very much about trusting. She said, let me tell you something, son. Out she came with a story about how that week she'd had to go to the doctor for a breast biopsy and how uncertain she was about her own health condition and even her life itself. But I said, Mom, I can't see it. I couldn't tell that you had a burden. How do you carry things like this? She quoted the words of a hymn to me. Simply trusting every day. Trusting through the stormy way. Even when my faith is small. Trusting Jesus. That's all. Trusting as the moments fly. Trusting as the days go by. Trusting him whate'er befalls. Trusting Jesus. That is all. And that's all there is. How are you doing? I'm trusting the Lord. How are you doing? I'm trusting the Lord. How's your life going? I'm trusting the Lord. Say it. How you doing? How's it going? Are you concerned about the future? Are you carrying a burden? This is the Christian life. Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, the life. Trust him. Final favorite illustration involves the 1998 ill-fated Swiss air flight that went down off the coast of Nova Scotia. It was interesting. There was, I think, 229 people. This plane went down. Every one of them was killed. We watched it on the news as they searched all off the coast of Nova Scotia. Never found, only body parts, nothing else. And then I got this letter in the mail from a lady. I have her permission to share this. She wrote, Dear Pastor MacDonald, several weeks ago, visiting back in the Chicago area, we had the privilege of attending one of your church services on a Saturday night. This was 1998, or a little after. It was a wonderfully meaningful service. She even referenced some parts of the service, and then she wrote, "The main reason I'm writing is to tell you something we thought you might be interested in knowing. You remember almost a year ago that a young Wheaton College couple was on the ill-fated Swiss Air Flight 111 that went down off the coast of Nova Scotia. They were our daughter and son-in-law. We learned several months ago that the only thing that they had retrieved and identified as Julie's, that's her daughter's name, the only thing that they had identified and retrieved of hers was her Bible. It has since been returned to us and is in amazingly good shape, considering it was at the bottom of 190 feet of ocean water. We can even read her handwritten notes in the margins. To us, this is so exciting to think that the plane exploded. There were not bodies to identify, only fragments. And yet the Word of God survived. In Julie's Bible was a sheet of sermon notes dated. By checking with some of Julie's friends, they learned that the message notes were from a service she attended in our church. The message was entitled 5 Keys to Family Remodeling. And that was so appropriate for Julie, as she and Barry were such dedicated parents to their 2-year-old twin boys. If there's anything of hers that might have survived the accident, there's nothing more we would want than her Bible, knowing how meaningful it was to her and how she strove and prayed to be a woman of excellence for God. We felt that this was such a wonderful example of Isaiah 40, verse 8, which says, "The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of God will stand forever." And she signed the letter, "Trusting Jesus." Now I'm telling you, there's no better choice that you can make than to bow to Jesus Christ the way and to follow Jesus Christ the truth and to trust Jesus Christ the life.